Welcome back, everyone. I'm Stan.
I'm Guy.
And we are 2SD. We are recording the second part of our November Wrestling Roundtable. And on this one, we're going to discuss the Survivor Series and then just wrestling news, rumors, thoughts. So that being said, with no further ado, for those of you who didn't watch the first video, Mark, throw up a link up there if you can. Or put it in the description, because that's more likely what you're going to do, because it's way easier. That being said, we are in the basement now, but we are not on our set. We are currently on the set of our Let's Play section, and we just kind of took it over. We stole their couch, and we moved our equipment over here, and we were just filming here because that's what we wanted to do. We got the stuff from our Slam Crate video, which is also on the channel.
Link that.
So, moving forward, Survivor Series. As best we can, we're going to cover it, and we're going to give our predictions. But, with a big but, there isn't a whole lot we can predict, because there isn't a whole lot out there about it yet. It's still 25 days away, so there's a lot of time for them to build matches. So, with no further ado, the first match on the card is Team Raw versus Team SmackDown, the men's single. Team Raw is going to be Kevin Owens, Chris Jericho, Roman Reigns, Braun Strowman, and one to be determined.
Which,
it's going to be Seth Rollins.
Yeah, I heard it was either going to be him or Sami Zayn, because there's a rumor going around of like the image that they put up for the mystery one, and it's actually Sami Zayn's image.
Okay.
But
who knows?
I mean, either one could make sense.
Yeah.
Seth Rollins is pretty much your top guy without being the top guy.
I just don't see them leaving Seth Rollins out of a pay-per-view like this.
No.
That's not to say that they won't build a different match for him.
And that'll also lead into an observation for later.
And Team SmackDown is going to be AJ Styles, Dean Ambrose, Randy Orton, Bray Wyatt, and Baron Corbin.
That shocked the shit out of me when they announced Baron Corbin.
I guess I see Baron Corbin. They see Baron Corbin as kind of a top guy in the future, and the weird thing about that team, to me, is you've got basically 4 heels in Dean Ambrose.
Yeah.
That's kind of weird to me. As it sits right now, I think that Team SmackDown goes over.
I think they'll put SmackDown over just because they need it.
I don't think that they need it. SmackDown's a better product right now, overall.
I can't really get into it a whole lot. Not as much as Raw. I don't know.
See, I'm not getting into Raw. I guess that's where we differ. But it is what it is. So there you have. We both picked Team SmackDown.
Yeah.
We're both picking Team SmackDown. Then you have the Women's Survivor Series teams. Team SmackDown has been 100% listed out. That being Nikki Bella, Becky Lynch, Alexa Bliss, Carmella, and Naomi, and they have Natalya as their coach. Team Raw, you have Charlotte Flair, Nia Jax, Bayley, and 2 open spots.
I think just based on what we have there, I think Raw will take it. I mean, you have Nia Jax flying through people like crazy.
You have Charlotte Flair, who doesn't lose on pay-per-views.
Yep.
It's going to be, to me, it's our Team Raw wins. That, predictions as to who the two to be determines in that are going to be?
Sasha Banks. And maybe you get an NXT call.
I think you see Sasha Banks and whatever Eva Marie is now. Evelina.
Emma. Emelina.
Emelina, there you go.
Yeah, Either way, that's stupid.
I don't pay that much attention to women's wrestling, but that's what I think. They've just been putting way too much push on, like, vignettes for her not to show up somewhere. So
yeah, that's true. I forgot all about that because I don't care.
Yeah, I understand. The third Survivor Series matchup between the brands is the tag team matchup. Which SmackDown. We'll start with Team SmackDown, which is more filled out than Team Raw by far.
Oh yeah.
You have Heath Slater and Rhino. You have the Hype Brothers, American Alpha, the Usos, and one open spot. Who do you think goes in that open spot on SmackDown?
Oh, man. Well, I know it's not the Ascension because they lost to get in.
Yep. It ain't the Spirit Squad because they lost to get in.
Maybe the Vaudevillains?
I think ultimately it's the Vaudevillains. Is there another tag team on SmackDown?
Oh,
I mean,
Headbangers lost too.
Yep.
I don't know. Unless they want to bury the Vaudevillains and just say, hey, the Ascension or the Headbangers magically get a spot now.
Yeah. I think it doesn't matter who's in that spot. It's going to be the first team eliminated.
Yeah.
That being said, we'll go to Team Raw. On Team Raw, you have The New Day.
And that's it.
And 4 teams to be determined.
Yep.
This brings about the question of who are the 4 teams that you bring off of the Raw roster. I think it goes easy. Bada boom, realest guys in the room. You see Enzo and Cass on that team.
Yep. I think you see Sheamus and Cesaro.
I think it makes sense to put Sheamus and Cesaro because they're not on the card. You're going to want them on the card. I think you put Gallows and Anderson on that team.
Yep.
And then it's, Breeze Dango, Goldust and R-Truth.
Breeze Dango's on
oh, yeah, they're on SmackDown.
Oh, they could be on the...
Yeah. Well, it doesn't much matter.
No.
It's going to be somebody who gets buried. But, I mean, it's Goldust and R-Truth. Who else is out there? I don't... It's
Shining Stars.
Shining Stars, yeah. It's going to be the first team eliminated, basically, in that 5th spot.
Mm-hmm.
But where do you think this falls? For me, it's really interesting because I think SmackDown has much better tag team wrestling overall.
They have more established...
Well, watching it, I enjoy watching tag team wrestling on SmackDown far more than I enjoy it on Raw.
I think you have American Alphas win.
I think so too. But, well, either that or you have the Heath Slater and Rhino and you continue to have them dumb luck their way through.
Yeah, or that, yeah.
I think that Team Raw is more, with our suggested roster, yeah, you have the New Day. You have a lot of, really high-image teams. But I think that you have the New Day, Enzo and Cass. They're not going to get along with Gallows and Anderson.
Nope.
You have, Cesaro and Sheamus who are going to be infighting.
Yeah.
I think that that's what they do, is they do a Team SmackDown wins because...
Inner turmoil.
Ultimately, that's my pick.
Yeah. I think somehow in the match you have Gallows and Anderson just wreck shit.
Yep. Well,
they can wreck shit.
I would like to think that, but the way they booked Gallows and Anderson on Raw...
Oh, with that Trick or Street fight?
With the Trick or Street fight, which was dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe you don't. Maybe you have Enzo and Cass do it. Just go through and run roughshod. But it'll be what it'll be. I look forward to it because I do enjoy tag team wrestling.
Yeah.
But I'm going Team SmackDown.
I will go Team SmackDown as well.
The 4th announced match is Brock Lesnar versus Goldberg. Now, don't get me wrong. 5 years ago, I would have loved to see a Goldberg return. Now,
that was 5 years ago.
He's getting old.
Yeah.
And I guess I can't say. He does... I saw for the first time he took his coat off. And he's still kind of ripped. I'm just praying to God that this is not the debacle that the last time was.
Straight botches. Like, he botched that run-in with Rusev.
Yeah.
Is what it is. I mean, he recovered quite well.
Yep.
But if you fall down giving knee strikes, that doesn't make you look too strong.
Yeah. Ultimately, I question why they would put this soon. My prediction, this is my prediction, I'm going out on a limb here. I think that this match ends in some sort of DQ, chaos erupting, whatever. There's not going to be a definitive finish. And Goldberg is going to say, hey, I know I said this is my last match, but this hasn't been settled.
Mm-hmm.
And that will give time to build to a true match at WrestleMania. At least that's what I hope for.
I'm going to say this. I don't want this to be a prediction, but if it happens, know that it's a prediction. The Ultimate Warrior came back because he was on the cover of, 2K14 or 15?
Yeah.
Promoted that, came back for the Hall of Fame, and then died 3 days later. Goldberg, cover of the video game. Well, not cover it. He promoted the video game. Coming back for a match. Is he gonna die?
In my opinion, I think Goldberg needs more time.
He does.
He needs time to shake off ring rust, and I'm not saying that he needs to wrestle matches, but he needs to be in the sport, participating in these interviews, and people run in and there's fights and whatever.
Yeah.
Just get back into and it gives him an opportunity to go to the performance center and train and get everything down, because if this is as bad as the previous match is, it's a complete train wreck. All those people that you drew in by bringing Goldberg back are just going to be like, well, that was stupid.
Mm-hmm.
Done. Ultimately, regardless, I guess that's my hope, is that they're going to draw it out. My prediction, if it's a match that finishes on the card, Brock goes over.
I agree. I don't think you can bury Brock Lesnar.
No, at least not to him.
No.
There's probably people you can bury him to, but
yeah.
not. I mean, you could bury him to. You couldn't bury him, but you could have him lose to an AJ Styles.
That would be interesting.
That's what I'm saying. A guy like that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you have Randy Orton come back and lose to Brock Lesnar. That you can't have Brock Lesnar lose.
He's been booked strong for forever.
Yeah, and because he's part-time, it's like one of those one-shot things that you get to see him. He's not going to come back and lose.
Right. And there is one other match that has been announced, and that's Dolph Ziggler versus somebody from the Raw brand.
Yeah, he issued that open challenge on last SmackDown.
Who do you think it will be?
I would want to say Cesaro, but I don't think that can happen.
No.
Maybe Sami Zayn.
I think we see Rusev in this match. He doesn't have the U.S. title.
Yeah, he doesn't have a feud.
He goes for the IC title.
Yeah.
That's my prediction. Ultimately, unless I see Dolph Ziggler winning, should Dolph Ziggler lose and that title go to Raw,
then they need to find something quick to cover it.
Well, I think what happens is you see Roman Reigns get traded to SmackDown.
Ooh, trades.
Or whatever. Something happens where Roman Reigns ends up on SmackDown.
Interesting.
That's my opinion.
Yeah, I think SmackDown could use a void filled because John Cena just kind of up and left again for a little bit.
Well, they knew it was coming.
Yeah.
But yeah. So that's Survivor Series. There's a lot more questions than there are answers, and there's even in the rumor mills, there's not a whole lot of information out there. So moving forward from that, we will move into just kind of what's happened in the last month. Guy, it looks like you've got a lot of notes. I'm closing my laptop because I have no notes. I am ill prepared.
Well, we can start with James Ellsworth.
All right, James Ellsworth.
For a brief moment, I liked the triple feud, but I think they're booking him all wrong, like having him be that apologetic, like I'm just going to be a nuisance and get in the way kind of deal. I think there could be some real talent going on. Like they could actually have a good triple feud with him, Ambrose, and AJ Styles. But having it just be like, oh, I'm the stupid idiot and you guys are the real talent, it doesn't really work.
I don't like the fact that that's how they're booking it now, but I could here's what I think personally how I would book it. is you're booking him like that now. And as you move forward in the feud, he starts to kind of resent that.
Yeah, that too, yeah.
And then you get him being involved in this feud. And I guess I don't know long run how long he's going to be around. And I guess a lot of it comes down to staying power of how long can he stay involved in this.
I think he's losing his momentum because
he's already starting to lose his momentum.
When he came out on SmackDown to say this is goodbye,
yeah.
like half the crowd was like yes, yes, and then half was like no, no. So he's really kind of losing his folk hero status.
Well, right, and part of it is booking, and there's a part that's appearance. I mean,
I think they should have. I really think they should have pushed him over the edge on this last SmackDown and had him banned from ringside, but come down anyway and just really like snap and be like, I'm done with this. I'm gonna super kick AJ Styles, and then I'm gonna super kick Dean Ambrose, and that would have got a huge pop from the crowd.
Yeah.
But instead they had him come in and just be like,
yeah. And I think that it's, if you go back and watch our other videos, we were talking about enhancement talents. We talked about Ellsworth and just like how you can make something of that. And ultimately, that's what we're kind of getting.
yeah.
I guess, I don't know.
We predicted it.
So, but he was an interesting character, if nothing else. And it adds depth, and that's, I'll let you go through your stuff and then I'll share my views on something. I do have some thoughts.
We already talked about Baron Corbin. I'm just going to throw that off there. Bray Wyatt and Randy Orton. That whole strange relationship, like it doesn't fit. Randy Orton does not fit with the Wyatt family. Like,
well, and just the way they built the feud and then built the relationship was really weird.
It was pretty weird.
It wasn't weird in a good way. Like, it was just like kind of dumb, like kind of early 90s WWE to me in a way. Like, not that bad, but not that early 90s WWE to me in the early 90s WWE was amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But they almost treated it childishly. The thing to me out of it is, let's say you make the Bray Wyatt, Randy Orton partnership work. What do you do with it? You have Bray Wyatt, who
is a leader.
He's a leader, A, and B, even though his status on the card and his status in wins, losses, what you see him in the ring, he's not holding titles, he is a huge star with the company.
Oh, yeah.
You have Randy Orton, who could be that Wildcat that's working alongside of him. He is a huge star in that company. And you have Luke Harper, who's very talented. Luke Harper is actually my favorite member.
Easily one of my favorite wrestlers.
And you have Rowan, who's hurt.
He's hurt?
I think he's hurt.
Okay.
I think he tore his shoulder up or something. But I'm not sure. But anyway, so you have these guys, but who do you have them feud against? And that, once we get to my points later, once you get through your list, that's one of the things that I want to discuss about, is just like building long-running feuds.
Mm-hmm.
It's just, I look, it's like, oh, they attack Kane.
Yeah.
Well, not many people don't get me wrong, watching Kane in the ring, he's actually still pretty good in the ring.
Oh, yeah, for being like 48 or however old he is.
I was very impressed. But it's not like there's a group that you're going to see form.
No.
So I don't know where they're going with the angle.
It doesn't fit. He does not fit in that. He fits in a stable environment like Evolution, but he does not fit in a stable like the Wyatt family.
Yeah.
He's just not that style. Yeah, staying on the SmackDown side, Heath Slater and Rhino, they have like two feuds going, one with the Usos and the other going with the Spirit Squad and Miz with Dolph Ziggler. Like, I don't understand what they're trying to accomplish with that.
I think they are trying to book Heath and Rhino as, like, the good guy faces, which is good, because they're actually pulling it off, where Heath Slater is like the really good guy, and Rhino's just like, I don't like him. Like, do you see the comment on male cheerleaders? Like, I don't like male cheerleaders. That was his comment, Rhino's comment. I think it's just, they're just filling that role of, they're the good guys that are there going to pitch in a hand to help a guy out.
Yeah, that's good. Like Enzo and Cass.
Mm-hmm.
They had a couple of that too. A couple of those.
Yeah, and it doesn't, to me, that doesn't bother me. Because, I mean, ultimately, Heath Slater and Rhino they're fun to watch in the ring.
Mm-hmm.
So, where do they go with? You can't have them feud with the Usos forever. So that's why I continue to wonder why we're continually seeing the Ascension and the Vaudevillains and the heel tag teams on the show buried. The only ones that are the Usos. And I'm not saying that you need to have them come out and win week after week after week after week, but having them win here and there couldn't hurt.
Yeah. Another huge SmackDown. The Undertaker is confirmed to be on SmackDown in like
episode 900.
Days. Yeah, a couple days, sometime in mid-November.
Yeah.
Like the 20th, I think, or something like that.
And the assumption is that it's going to be about his WrestleMania match, which may be his last match.
He just had surgery on his hips or knees or something. He's been walking around in crutches. And if you ever see him without, like, his makeup and his hair dye, he is fucking old.
Yeah.
Like, he's gray, like, gray beard, gray hair. I mean, he looks good for an old dude, but...
You can only... I mean, it's beneficial that he hasn't been used intensively for the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
That does help. Do I necessarily think that this needs to be his last WrestleMania ever? Not necessarily.
No.
If he keeps doing the I show up for WrestleMania and I hear their spots,
Mm-hmm.
however, you're going to burn out your welcome relatively quickly like that. As far as that goes, I'm just going to throw it out there. If, like, I don't have a solution for it. But what if you take The Undertaker and have him introduce a tag team or a singles wrestler that's his protege? And then have him manage. You still get the star power out of The Undertaker. You have somebody who wrestles with a very similar style to him. Very enigmatic. You can't do an Undertaker gimmick today.
No.
He is the pinnacle of what 80s wrestling was, and it works for him.
It does.
Because he's done it for so long, he's so good at it, and we just, because magic.
Well, he's one of those people, it's like, you hear John Cena, you know who John Cena is, even if you don't watch wrestling.
Right.
The Rock, same thing. The Undertaker. If you walked out and you were like, hey, do you know The Undertaker? People would be like, yeah, I've heard of The Undertaker.
My mom has never, ever watched professional wrestling. She knows who The Undertaker is.
Mm-hmm.
She knows who Hulk Hogan is, and she knows who The Undertaker is. Those are
Yep.
the only two wrestlers she knows.
It's that thing where even he doesn't even do anything else, and he transcends wrestling.
And that's, good for him. But it'll be really cool to see him on TV, and I hope that it's not a, hey, this is going to be my farewell match.
No.
And if it is, who do you have him wrestle? You have Seth Rollins, so that he enters him and ends his career.
Yeah. Well, I know for one thing, don't put him in any more matches like Brock Lesnar. There's a mosquito.
There is a mosquito.
This is almost winter, and there's a mosquito there.
Yep.
Sorry. Don't put him in any more Brock Lesnar matches where he's gonna fucking get concussed over and over again. Put him in some easy-going matches that will look good, like Finn Balor.
Yeah.
Where you can have that hard-hitting looking style, but it's safe and it's high tempo.
Yeah, you have to take it down a notch, I think.
He can't just go in there and be like, well, beat the shit out of me, and I'm going to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah. That may have been his style, but it can't be anymore.
Nope.
I know, I couldn't, be like, hey, guy, beat the shit out of me, and I'm going to beat the shit out of you. Next year, this time, I'm going to be like, oh, I still hurt.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'm fucking in my 30s.
Throw me off the roof. No.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Well, that takes care of my SmackDown list. I only have really two Raw things.
All right, well, let's hit on them.
Bailey. We talked earlier in previous videos for the, Hell in a Cell recap?
No Mercy in Hell in a Cell recap.
Yep. We talked about how she's not being utilized well enough.
No.
She's jobbing. She's having people job to her on Raw, which is not really utilizing her well.
They're not building a feud around her. They're not using the momentum, and it's like I get that Sasha Banks is your big face right now, but you need to build that second face in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, or even have her wrestle people within the division, like the women's division, not just random talent.
Yeah.
It doesn't do anything, in my opinion. It didn't really do anything for Braun Strowman. They had to break him out of it.
The 3-on-1 was kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, ultimately, in the end, you can't use local talent to get anybody over. You can use them to start to build, but you can't get somebody over with it.
Another Raw thing. I actually heard rumblings from a source, from a person I actually met today. They mentioned that it's going to be Reigns and Kevin Owens again for the title at Roadblock.
I also had heard that. I had heard that it's going to be a champion versus champion match.
I did not hear anything about that until this person brought it to my attention. And if that's the case, then I think it's quite stupid.
Yeah, especially when you're doing it on a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
A pay-per-view that doesn't exactly have a great track record.
I don't want Reigns. I mean, if Seth Rollins can't do it, Roman Reigns can't do it.
Once we get to my stuff, I'll kind of share my thoughts, and it has very little to do with Roman Reigns. Although I am sick of seeing Roman Reigns over and over again.
They actually booed Mick Foley.
Yeah.
Foley is God, and they said Foley sucks. Foley sucks because he was pushing Roman Reigns hard on Raw.
Yep.
That is...
It's unthinkable.
It is. It really is. Like, it's gotten to that point where people hate Roman Reigns that much.
Yeah. What else you got? Anything else?
The Shield return at Survivor Series. That got teased very heavily on Raw.
I like to think that we won't see it, but
I definitely want to see it.
See, once again, a spot that we differ. I liked the Shield. I didn't love the Shield. I wasn't watching regularly at that point, but I just think that... I think at the time it made sense. However, at the point of time we're in now, well, there's two things. One, to me, it's just a ploy of let's get Roman Reigns over as a face.
Yep.
Because you're going to take Dean Ambrose, who's a huge face, Seth Rollins, who's becoming a huge face. Let's get Roman Reigns in that and make him a huge face. I don't like that. Two, I think that Seth Rollins has far, far exceeded that stable environment. I think Dean Ambrose has exceeded it. I think the only one who benefits from it is Roman Reigns.
Yeah, well, there's a point on that. You have stables like DX, or Evolution, where not everyone in DX, but almost every one of them has exceeded that stable environment, and they're all top guys.
Right.
So you can do it. However, I think, and we talked about this off camera earlier.
We did.
I think if you bring back the Shield, have them be an NWO type thing, where they transcend the SmackDown and the Raw, and they're their own entity, and they're just going to bounce back and forth, and Hounds of Justice again.
And what I kind of my kind of thought on that is, I have no pity for Roman Reigns. Make him work every single day of the year. I don't care, because I it's not that I don't like Roman Reigns. It's I don't like the fact that Roman Reigns is being stuffed down our throat. And Seth Rollins, I'm indifferent, but for me, the big thing is Dean Ambrose. I mean, this guy works 300 days a year. And you start putting him on both shows, you're just wearing a guy out.
Yeah.
And you can't do that. And that was my hope from the brand split. Was that the brand split was going to be an opportunity for... I'm just getting comfy here. It was going to be an opportunity for the WWE to lighten the workload on some of their key players, so that we don't have people's careers ending at 40, 42, 45. That these guys can continue to show up in some fashion into their up to 50, or even I guess a lot of times we see careers end in their 30s. We can get them to at least 40. We can lighten that workload, but it isn't what happened. So my point is kind of universal. I'm still enjoying watching wrestling to an extent. I'm enjoying SmackDown more than I'm enjoying Raw. We've had this debate before. What is missing to me, and it's why I kind of been enjoying SmackDown more, is we're not seeing... It's all about whatever the main feud is. First of all, you have so much non-wrestling time of just, in average Raw, you might get 65 minutes of wrestling on a 3-hour show.
Mm-hmm.
And that's tedious to me. Like, there is a time and a place for promos to be cut and backstage stuff and all these things to be done, but I want to see more in the ring. But I'm not seeing feuds off of the belts.
Yeah.
In the 90s, when I really got into wrestling, it didn't matter if a guy had a title. There would be a feud built with somebody. And it gives those guys an opportunity. By building this feud, you have a reason why these guys are wrestling. They're building a feud, and it can... I'll use a bad example of it, but remember the Best of 7 series? I can't mention the wrestlers because WWE doesn't acknowledge one of them exists.
Oh, yeah.
But the Benoit, and fucking now I can see his face. Somebody put it in the comments. I can read it there. But anyway, it was about mutual respect and who's going to be the best. And that's a really bad example of it because I think that's a really dumb idea to have people feuding. But I think they need to take and let people feud.
Well, like Sheamus and Cesaro.
Right.
That was...
And it led to... That Best of 7 series, Sheamus and Cesaro, was some really good matches. And I was a guy who was down on Sheamus. But you know what? Those matches were tremendously good.
Or even Sami Zayn and Kevin Owens. A non-title feud that's been going on for 15 years.
Yeah.
That's...
Well, and you have so little of that.
Yeah.
I think you need more off-belt feuds. That's going to feed the match structure for your cards. It's also going to draw people into... They're going to have vested interest in Sami Zayn. I mean, people love Sami Zayn because of what he did on the independent scene and what he did in NXT. People aren't into Sami Zayn because of what he's doing in WWE right now. You could have Sami Zayn, and I realize you want your top players to be your top players, but you got to have these guys that are building themselves so that when you have a Finn Balor injury, you've got
someone to replace him.
the pieces shift up.
Yep.
So that being said, I'm going to continue on my tirade here and move to tag team wrestling. I think that SmackDown is doing an okay job of tag team wrestling. It's really cool that they're not using jobbers. They're using jobbers, but it's like the headbangers. We're gonna have the headbangers come in.
They're not really jobbers, but
They're not. They're something. They're a group that have recognition, but they're jobbing. And I think that you can do more of that, and it's not necessarily like you need to have somebody show up that's going to lose week after week after week, but just you got to have an interesting enough feuds going on that people want to watch it. You know, you have Rhino and Heath Slater wrestle whoever. They're going hype bros for the title. You can have that Usos American Alpha feud, and people might actually want to see that match more than they want to see the title match.
Yeah.
So when you move to Raw, where you don't really have the tag teams, but you have the tag team titles, it baffles my mind. And it's an opportunity for them to take some guys and make some tag teams. Or bring some guys up to wrestle in that tag team division. Either that, or ship your 4 tag teams to SmackDown and take singles wrestlers back and have tag team wrestling be on SmackDown. Because you're wasting them over there. The titles are being wasted over there. I mean, I guess there's titles on SmackDown now, but...
Yeah.
And you're wasting Gallows and Anderson. You're ultimately wasting the New Day. These guys could be getting over if there was more going on in the division. And I'm going to continue to cruiserweights. Those that don't know me, cruiserweights, tag team wrestling, my favorite things of all time. Tag team wrestling more so than cruiserweights, but you got the cruiserweight division, which you have really, really talented guys. Granted, there's a few guys that I would like to see show up in it that haven't. Which, in the rumor mill, I heard that they approached Chavo Guerrero to bring some name recognition into the cruiserweight division.
And little side note, I know what's going on with him in Lucha Underground because I actually watch Lucha Underground, so
but
periodically.
It's one of those, the cruiserweight division it's fun to watch, but they aren't doing anything with it, and it's going to lose all steam. It's already lost a lot of momentum. A, they need to get away from the Cruiserweight Classic format, which we've discussed before. But B, they need to start letting these guys establish themselves. And establish personalities.
No more shaking hands before the match.
Well, you know what? There's guys you can have shake hands.
Yeah.
You want to have Cedric Alexander and Rich Swann in a match?
Oh, yeah.
Let them shake hands. That's fine. 2 faces?
Yeah.
But, really, you have TJ Perkins, who's established personality, and that's fine. You have the Brian Kendricks, who is by far my favorite cruiserweight right now, who has a definite established personality, definite established heel gimmick going on. Great. Let him do that. After that, it's like Rich Swann is starting to develop a gimmick. The problem is we've been seeing cruiserweights on Raw for months, and no one else has been allowed to develop personality, develop feuds in amongst themselves, really flesh out heels, faces. It's suffering from the same thing of what they do to the women's division of just like, unfortunately, the women's division isn't something I love, but it's just there's no heels or faces. They're all just catty bitches. Mm-hmm. They're there's no heels or faces in the cruiserweight. They just all want to be the best cruiserweight. No, there needs to be heels and faces.
Interjection. We film in Minnesota, and Arya Daivari is from Minnesota, so I know Arya Daivari, and he is a heel.
Yeah. The way he in the independent promotions that we have the opportunity to see, which would be heavy on wrestling.
Yep.
Would be the biggest one.
And then First Wrestling or something.
Yeah.
In Minneapolis, but he is a major heel, and when they introduced him in the Classic, he was a heel. He didn't shake hands. He didn't do that. He was full on heel.
Yeah.
Same with Raw. When they introduced him, he didn't shake hands. He was a full on heel. Then, for that, what is it, like a 6-man tag match on the pay-per-view, he shook hands.
Yeah.
They shook hands, and that was like, why are you doing that?
You have to let these people play out their personalities and build strengths, weaknesses, those kind of things, and let that come into the roster. Or else nobody's going to care, and it's going to disappear, and you're already struggling to fill this 3-hour time slot on Raw.
Yep. I mean, you don't have Chris Jericho's not a cruiserweight anymore. You don't have a Juventud Guerrero.
Yeah,
You
don't have Ultimo Dragon.
Eddie Guerrero. You don't have any of those people anymore.
Dean Malenko. I mean, these they're just not there. Rey Mysterio isn't around. There was personality, but the reason that those guys were successful, and this goes all across the WWE right now. The reason that they were successful is they were all allowed to develop a personality.
Mm-hmm.
And Eddie Guerrero was even more successful when he was allowed to flourish with that personality.
Yep.
Malenko, it was letting Malenko and Jericho playing the obnoxious heel, and Malenko just playing the stone cold silent face of just like, I'm this technical guy. You have guys that can do the same thing. You don't need to reinvent the wheel. You can use Tony Nese as this. He's a big guy. He's got good technical skill. Let him be a Dean Malenko-esque character where he's, Malenko still works for the company. Have Malenko be his manager, and just like he's the new man of 1,000 holds, but he can be a heel. That's fine. Yeah. They need to, and across, the guys that are having the most success are the guys that you're letting develop a personality.
Yep. The 2 guys. Well, maybe 3. But 2 for sure. And you can't have them feud forever.
Well, and that's just it. It's how many times do I have to watch the Kendrick T.J. Perkins match? It's getting old. Anything else? I think that basically sums up. I mean, in the future, I think that we ultimately either see changes in a lot of this stuff, or we continue to see the viewership fall. And that's always the danger. So, as a wrestling fan, I hope they make some adjustments.
Same.
So, with no further ado, since we don't have anything else to say, we'll sign off for the evening. Thanks for watching, guys. We're 2SD from the basement, and we did miss one thing. Because there was so little for the Survivor Series, we're going to do a special episode. These come out on the 15th of the month. Normally, we're recording in the beginning of the month.
Yep.
We're going to do a special episode as we get closer to Survivor Series to give our final opinions once we have an actual card. But that being said, we're out of here. If you got any comments, leave them down below. We're always looking at our comments. We'll respond to you. If there's things you want to see us talk about, great. Give us a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe if you want to see more. Thanks for watching The Basement. I'm Stan.
I'm Guy.
And we're 2SD.